The screaming in the background, that's real, that's not recorded, not pre-recorded, real, genuine children screaming at each other. Just getting in a quick video while I'm peeling some carrots. I would love to be one of those people that sits down and records a nice YouTube video with, like, you know, me wearing some nice makeup and like a nice background and all organised and put together. Fortunately, not one of those people. I'm far too busy, have to record videos whilst doing housework. So it was my husband and best friend's idea that I become a YouTube vlogger. If it turns out to be completely rubbish, feel free to blame them. This was not my idea. Okay, so why am I so busy and why do I think I should be a YouTube vlogger? Basically, I don't think I have a particularly interesting life, but recently a few people have told me that actually I do, because I have 5 little children and I had them all within 8 years. And I've done all of this without any help or any, well, I wouldn't say without support, but basically I've done it on my own. And life is pretty busy, and just to give you a kind of example, today was supposed to be the day that I donate my hair for charity. See all this, look, it's, you know, it doesn't look so terrible on camera, but let's just say in real life it's frizzy and full of split ends. So basically today I was supposed to donate my hair for charity, and I do this kind of every 5 years. It's partly a cheapskate thing because I'm kind of too cheap to pay for a haircut, but a lot of the time I do it basically because, well, it's a nice thing to do for kids who have cancer. It's a nice way to donate and do something nice for other people without actually costing me anything. And also because, I don't know, just for me it feels very luxurious going and paying to have a fancy haircut. I know this probably sounds ridiculous, but if I wasn't going to donate it, I'd probably cut it myself, and then it would end up looking as disastrous as the haircuts that I gave my children for free. So it's probably a better idea that I don't do it. Anyway, so that was supposed to do today, and why did I end up not donating my hair? Because one of my children ended up having a cricked neck, so he's at home, and then another child missed the school bus and missed the neighbour's lift, so that was a disaster. The screaming in the background, that's real, that's not recorded, not pre-recorded, real, genuine children screaming at each other. Why else didn't I get it done? Let's just say it was one of those mornings. So people ask, how on earth do you manage with 5 children? The truth is, I don't. It's very busy, it's very crazy, hence me making videos whilst peeling carrots. Interested in what I'm making for lunch? Probably not, but just in case anyone actually is interested in what I'm making for lunch, I'm doing something called koshari rice, which is basically just a mixture of rice and lentils and small little noodly things, and you cook them with some cinnamon for 20 minutes, and before they go in I put some like roasted carrots in the oven that my children really, really like. Right, I have to go and chop them up now, so now I have to figure out how to move you. Okay, so it turns out that the chopping up carrots angle is actually not that much more flattering than the peeling carrots at the sink angle, but you know, this is the best I can do, so you'll have to cope. So this morning I dropped my son off at kindergarten, and we live in the north of Israel, in case you're wondering. So this whole conversation that I'm translating for you was actually in Hebrew, so give me a moment if it doesn't make sense. Oh, more screaming. So I bumped into a very old kindergarten teacher with my older children, who are now 9 and 10, and she said to me, "Oh, you look very good. How many children do you have now?" I said, "Oh, I have 5. She said, "Oh, and you haven't let yourself go, and you look really good," and all the rest of it. You know, you don't look, basically she was saying I don't look fat. When someone tells you you look very good after 5 children, what they're basically saying to you is, why aren't you fat? So this is why I thought I'd do this video today. Full angle. Yes, I've had 5 children, and I'm not fat. Now, for some reason, people seem to think this is a huge achievement, and what they don't realise is that most of the time, it's just genetics. The rest of the time, it's because people with lots and lots of children and don't have very much help, don't have time to sit and eat. And if they do have time to sit and eat, they're usually doing it whilst breastfeeding, or the person who could, or maybe perhaps might be slightly too old for breastfeeding, is stealing food off their plate. So basically, that's why you don't put on weight when you have lots of children. Or it is in my case anyway. But people love to tell you how good you look if you look slim, and it's very nice and everything, and sometimes it can make you feel a bit good for about 5 minutes. But I actually think it's a little bit judgy, really, and it makes me feel sad for them. What they think that they're not good enough because they're not slim, or that people who let themselves go after they have children are somehow not coping with life. I don't know. It made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Anyway, so another thing that made me think of doing a video today on the way back from nursery was I sent my son today with sushi. Now I'm not a really posh mother that gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning to make my children sushi, especially for their lunchboxes. But husband was making some last night and we had some leftovers. So my kid got to be the kid with sushi in his lunchbox today. That is a very, 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 very cool lunch. Very, very, very cool lunch. Sushi, ooh, ah. And it got me thinking, what do other kids have in their lunchboxes? So I've done some research and I asked my children, and the response I got was so truly horrifying, I feel like I have to share it with you. This, I'm not lying. For anyone who's a health freak like me, or into kind of, green and healthy and this, that and the other, I just have to explain. My older son is 10. He told me that a girl came to school a couple of days ago in her lunchbox. She had 2 chocolate croissants, a packet of what they call here dagdagin, which are basically little tiny fish-shaped white flour crackers with God knows what junk in them, and a biscuit and an energy bar. Not a particularly healthy energy bar, not like a one you get in a health food shop, like a trashy energy bar. That was the contents of her lunchbox. Bear in mind, these children leave for school at 7:30 in the morning and they get home at 3. Child abuse! But obviously you can't say that, because then people think that you're like Miss Perfect Mother who spends hours and hours making children's lunches. What else was horrifying? The majority, from what I can see, having done research, the majority of the children in my kids' schools, what they have for their, well, it's not lunch here, it's called arrocha essay, that's their 10 a.m. snack. What they have in their snack, majority of them, a white pita bread with poor quality chocolate spread in it, and if you're lucky, an apple. If you're lucky. Very often not. A piece of junk, some sort of junk food. That is what these kids have in their lunchboxes on a daily basis. No nutrition, tons of sugar. Right, I'm going to carry on making my lunch, get back to you. Okay, so right about now, you've probably switched off because you probably think that I'm some annoying, judgy mum and telling other people what to put in their kids' food. And maybe I am a little bit, but I do think that there's a border, and I think that even if you're a very busy person, you can still manage to put together a reasonable sandwich. But aside from that, I feel that however busy other people are, and they might well be very busy, and however busy somebody is, I have 5 kids.
4 kids. 4 kids.
And I managed to send 3 of them to school and 1 of them to nursery with a decent lunch. And they don't just take lunch, sometimes they stay in school till 5:45. So they need a mid-morning snack, which is like basically sandwiches, like real food. And they need another snack for school, a granola bar or a banana or something. And then they need lunch as well, because they're there till 6 o'clock. So if I can manage it, if I could get out of bed and sort my kids out food, surely somebody with less children could manage that. And aside from that, if I say, oh, you don't work, you've got no idea. Okay, I don't work. But if I did, I'd probably just, the night before, throw together some sandwiches. They would not be going to school with 2 chocolate croissants and a bag of crackery fish. Okay, it's me again. I'm back on my soapbox, and I'm going to have to shout even louder now because I'm competing with Bob the Builder over there. So, here we go. Yesterday's chocolate banana bread defrosted. Now, it sounds crazy that I baked something yesterday and froze it for today, but you actually do have to do that this time of year where I live. It's so hot and dry outside that if you bake something and you leave it out, it's literally dry as dust within an hour. So that's what you have to do. Anyway, so going back to my soapbox, what I was saying earlier about the children's lunchboxes, I also did some research with my other son, who is 9, and twice a week he stays after school to play tennis, and he gets home at 5:45. There's a special bus that takes him, which is great because I don't have to be the mum that drives up and down the road taking my children to various activities in the afternoon. Hooray, I actually get to drink a cup of coffee, which is much more fun. So he plays tennis twice a week, but what it does mean is I have to send him essentially with 3 meals. He has to have a meal at 10 o'clock, a snack, and a proper lunch as well. And I send him usually with leftovers of whatever we had the day before, potato omelette, nigetta, which is like rice and lentils, or today he went off with some leftover rice and tofu and some fruit. So I asked him what the other kids have, and he told me that most of them have pasta, often plain pasta with nothing on it, which obviously is a bit devoid in nutrition. And a lot of them have like the same thing every time, like meatballs or this, that and the other. But he very rarely mentioned vegetables. And or anything that could really be construed as healthy. It is food, which is a stage up from what my other kid told me, more on that in a minute. But again, you're like not particularly like healthy or energising food. I know if I was playing sport, I would want to do it on more than a bowl of plain white pasta. And my other son told me something even more horrifying. He goes to a activity 1 day a week on a Wednesday, and it's called Sayarut in Hebrew. I don't even know how you say that in English, but I believe it's something to do with scouting. Basically, they run around in nature and build fires and that kind of thing. So obviously they need a lot of energy for that. And I sent him with real food, but he told me that he's the only one pretty much that has a proper boxed up lunch that's like a protein, carb and a vegetable. He said that all the other kids basically go to the Makolet, which is like the Israeli equivalent of a newsagent. They go there afterwards with money either that they bought themselves or their parents have sent them, and they buy a manachama, which I figured out is a pot noodle, a can of cola, and various chocolate crisps and other disgusting accompaniments. And this is their meal. And I suppose if it's the only day a week that they do it, not too terrible, but something tells me it's not a once a week thing. And also just the combination of that is quite problematic. All that sort of high, that carb and sugar and everything. And I'm told that they sometimes have problems in the activity. Kids are too wild, kids are on their phones, I'm not surprised if you gave me a can of cola and a box of pasta, I would turn into somebody completely crazy. So I can't imagine what it does to a load of 10-year-old boys. Anyway, so I'm now going to feed my children some nice, healthy, defrosted chocolate banana bread made with brown flour. You can almost call it healthy. And look, see, I put chocolate chips on it, so now they won't realise it's healthy. Hooray! The other thing that I wanted to say about healthy eating is that there's lots of blogs I've noticed about people making healthy food. And there seems to be two factors to this. One is people who are perhaps single or don't have children or perhaps have a little more time on their hands than I do, making very, very, very intense, faffy food just for themselves, which I just, to me, I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but I think once you go over a certain number of children, to make such fancy food for yourself seems like a massive indulgence. So if I was going to spend that much time on something, it would be for everyone. And basically because I want to eat well, that's basically what I do. So you could kind of say it's a little bit selfish. I want to have a nice smoothie for breakfast. I know if I sit there and drink it, they're all going to want it, so I make them a really nice smoothie. Okay, they don't necessarily want the wheatgrass one with the, with the fresh sprouts, but they will eat most smoothies that I make. So why not? And the other kind of blogs I seem to find are people who make food for children, like weeknight dinners, easy dinners for children, and a lot of that seems to be white pasta, things that are versions of schnitzels, this kind of thing. And there's not that many I've not yet seen a vlog that is a combination of the two. So healthy food, or healthy vegan food perhaps, and kids in the same title. It always seems to be easy, simple food for children, chicken and chips, or I'm making healthy, faffy food for myself. And what I would really like to see is more people who show how they make fairly simple, maybe not really simple, not as easy as opening a packet of crisps or opening a packet of something and putting it in the oven or boiling a pot of pasta and saying here's lunch. Something that's a bit more complicated than that, but not really faffy, and that is healthy, and that my children will eat, and perhaps other people's children will eat. Another thing I hear a lot of the time, people say, you're so lucky your kids eat that. Nature or nurture. I will admit that as a kid I was not that fussy. I ate most things. I went off fish when I was about, 7 or 8, couldn't stand stuff. I had a bit of a thing with orange vegetables. Just, to me, pumpkin and sweet potato, they kind of smelled like sick, so I didn't eat them when I was a kid. I eat them now. Interestingly, half of my kids do, half of my kids don't. I guess 50% of them have my genes. But one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people say, my kid won't eat that, my kid won't eat that. And yes, maybe some of it's nature. I'm not a particularly picky eater. My husband's not a picky eater. He eats most things. 2 or 3 vegetables he hates. Certain nuts he hates. Other than that, he eats most things. But it could be genetics. But I also believe a lot of it's to do with the fact that they've literally been eating healthy food since they were born. And I've not yet put packet food that comes in a plastic wrap that you put in the oven. I've not yet thrown that under their faces. The day will come, possibly, but it hasn't yet. And also, I believe that they eat what you give them. And if you give them white bread every day, that's what they eat. So, anyway, that's my 2 pennies worth.